think we are ready. We have a quorum. In that sense, we're ready. So again, is there someone who'd like to read the land acknowledgement? Can I pick on somebody? You guys open to that? Stacy, have you read the land acknowledgement ever? Would you be willing to?
I haven't, but I'm not quite ready yet. Sorry.
Okay. Connor, you have, right?
I have, but I can do it again if someone throws it up on the screen.
Thank you.
Good to see everyone today. We recognize and acknowledge the indigenous land on which we live, work, learn, play, and grow. This is the land of the Warm Springs, Wasco, Northern Paiute, Tenino, Klamath, Molalla, and Yahuskin. We acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land. It is on their traditional land where we partner to improve the health and well-being of Central Oregonians. We aspire to be good guests, honoring the concept in the Warm Springs culture. This land is for you to know and live upon and pass on to the children. Apologies if I mispronounced anything.
Thanks, Connor.
Brad, would you like
Yes.
me to go through and say the correct pronunciation?
Please.
Would that help?
Yes, that would be wonderful. Thanks.
I think the only one that I think the majority has a problem with is, well, I'll just go through them all. So there's Warm Springs, Wasco, Northern Paiute, Tenino, Klamath, Molalla, and Yahuskin. And so I think the only one that I've ever heard that the majority struggle with is Tenino.
I would agree. I know I mispronounced it. So thank you. Appreciate that, Buffy.
No problem.
Tenino. All right. So the meeting practices, just to, if we want to pull that up, we're just doing our best to create a space that's welcoming to people, where people feel comfortable. And at any time, if you'd like to provide feedback on anything that doesn't feel comfortable to you, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Michaela, and please do. We're just, we don't want this to feel bureaucratic. We don't want it to feel, we're staying away from all the acronyms as much as we can, even though I see a lot of acronyms on this page. But it's Community Advisory Council, Central Oregon Health Council, Oregon Health Authority. Yeah. But please do let us know. Introductions, we have decided to have CAC members introduce, Community Advisory Council members introduce themselves, and everybody else, please, if you'd like to, introduce yourself in the chat, but we'll have our CAC members introduce yourselves verbally. I'll start. I'm Brad Porterfield. I'm the chair of the CAC, also a member of the Central Oregon Health Council board through my role as the CAC chair. I'll do my best to pull us through. Kelly, you can help me out. Stacy?
Yeah, I can go through. I've got everybody listed, so.
Okay, go for it, Kelly.
All right, let's go Connor and then Miranda.
Hey everyone, my name is Connor Carlson. I'm a CAC member and I work for the Family Resource Center of Central Oregon.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miranda Hill and I'm a CAC member and I work at Klamath County Public Health.
Next, Elizabeth and then Stacy.
I'm Elizabeth and I'm the vice chairperson or whatever with Brad. And I'm a retired voc rehab counselor, if you don't know that. And thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy. I'm a CAC member. I'm also, I have a new role in Crook County as a health strategist. Sorry, I wasn't quite ready for part of the meeting. I was sending out a kind of a time sensitive email. But yeah.
Great. Teresa and then Mandy.
Hi, I'm Teresa Olander. I'm a CAC member. That's about it, community representative.
Hi everyone, Mandy Seeley. I use she, they pronouns, and I am a CAC consumer rep, and I work in housing and houselessness.
Natalie and then Linda.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a CAC member and I work for Jefferson County Public Health.
I'm Linda Johnson. I'm Vice Chair of the Health Council, CAC member, and this year President of the Rotary Club of Bend. And I'm an activist for peace, healing, and dignity.
Excellent. And that is the 9 CAC members that we have in attendance today.
All right, thanks, Kelly. I do want to point out I get excited when all of us show up. I know there's always things that come up in people's lives, but the last meeting, all but 2 of our CAC members showed up. And I think today we are all but 3. So good job, everybody. Thanks for being here. Now it's time for public comment. Is there anybody who has a public comment to share?
Hi, everyone. This is Kristen with Pacific Source. And I do actually have something I'd like to share. You may recall maybe back in March or April, I spoke with you all about our flex funds and provided some information about how those funds have been spent, on things like gym memberships, housing, just kind of miscellaneous, not OHP covered medical supplies, things like that. And I think I also had shared that we were pretty much out of funds already, and how kind of disappointing that is, because it's a really important benefit and service for our members. So we were just very, I guess, what is the right word? Tenacious, I suppose. And we were able to provide a proposal to the Central Oregon Health Council's Provider Engagement Panel to move about $240,000 into that flexible services account to support those needs, those individual needs of our members for the rest of this year and into next year even. So if you are somebody who has a need or helps people who might have a flexible service need, please apply, encourage people to apply. And if you have any questions about that or the program or how to apply, please reach out and let me know. But I wanted to let you guys know that there are funds in there again.
That's good news. Thanks,
Yeah,
Kristen.
great news. You're welcome.
And will that addition be ongoing, or is that just, this is a one-time?
Well, this is a one-time kind of influx in money, but there have been a lot of internal Pacific Source discussions around what an appropriate budget might be and how to determine that budget to make that more sustainable to last the entire year instead of just a few months, which is just kind of been the trend in Central Oregon. Our community partners and provider partners have become really efficient at asking for those flexible service needs, which is great. But I think we kind of learned over the last few years that the budget we had set just wasn't enough. So hopefully next year I'll be able to tell you our budget has increased significantly.
And is that, I'm just curious, is that something that the CAC and the Health Council Board can have a say in, like can request, advocate for?
I'd have to ask Trisha about who makes determinations on that budget, but I actually let our community partner OHP, a sister team, know this information yesterday, and they started to share some of the success stories around flex funds that a member received an air conditioning or air conditioner unit, something like that. And it sort of all of a sudden dawned on me, what if I were to try to collect some of these stories around flexible services and how they've had a positive impact on our members, and then share that with you guys and the board, maybe, but Trisha's on vacation, but I need to kind of ask her the best place to share those stories to influence that decision. But I know, like, for me, hearing like those individual, obviously no member information shared stories, I think can have a really great impact on those types of decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I
if
noticed
you
in the-
guys have any other suggestions, I'm willing to take them.
Okay. I noticed in the chat, Mandy is asking if you can share a link or document that has the things that are covered by flex funds.
Sure. I have flyers available in English and Spanish. Maybe I could email them to the Health Council and they could send them out to the group. Does that work?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, great.
Thanks. And Buffy said, or put them online.
Oh,
Or
the
put them online?
stories. That's a great idea.
Buffy, do you want to comment on that?
No.
Referring to the stories?
Or yeah. Sorry, Brad. No, Kristen, putting the flyers up on the Health Council's website.
Oh.
And so that that maybe for those individuals that are on this call or when we're talking about it, if we don't happen to have a flyer, we could direct them to the Health Council's website to get more information or something, some centralized space, because I know that for myself, if I'm in the community, I don't always have, I'm not packing around flyers, people. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Usually it's going to be, can you go to this location or go to this space? It might just be something to think about.
Yeah, I'll let the Health Council decide on that, but I'll share them with the Health Council. And if that seems like a good idea, maybe we can have more discussions around that too.
Great. Thanks, Buffy, for the suggestion.
You should also, Kristen, you should put the stories online too, because that's your social proof that it actually works. So get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that like a few quotes about how the flex fund services have helped people. Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah, it can be bullet points basically, but there's proof that real people have actually received them and it has helped them.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kristen. All right, last call for public comment. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to emerging issues updates from, I believe, Gwen.
Yes, the update is things are in process. So while the agenda has been necessarily booked with community health project work with that deadline, just wanted to reassure everyone that we are working on a draft of an advocacy letter to the OHA level folks, and that we are setting up a meeting with the Oral Health Coalition to meet with them and see what work they're currently doing. The newest learning is that they're actually starting up again. It kind of disbanded, and there's a couple of folks looking to get it going again. So it'll be initial conversation. Anybody who wants to be part of that initial conversation with the Oral Health Coalition would welcome you to be there. I don't know, it'll be kind of a get to know you conversation and see where it takes us, because they're new in the advocacy space too, but would love to have you. And then as soon as we get through this first deadline with the CBI, we'll have an advocacy letter and kind of follow up on the next steps that you all recommended. We'll have that advocacy letter set up so you can take a look at it and tweak it, and we can go from there. So any questions? I just want you all to know that things are happening, even though they're not happening in this meeting. And, you know, summer plays havoc on other organizations too. So, Linda.
I have a question that's sort of a broad one, but it's what role and how is CAC going to be included up front in the data collection for the RAW document, the Regional Health Assessment?
So different conversation.
Right.
And Michaela, I think we're still in conversation around that. It's always been required that CAC is involved in that. And I think we're evolving that each time we do it. And so we're looking at that and trying to consider some newer, more involved methods. And you'll be able to inform on that too, the level of involvement you all want. So Michaela, what would you say? Anything you want to add?
I don't think there's anything more to add other than there's more to come. Yeah.
Mandy has her hand up. Oh, sorry, Michaela. Were you done? Yeah. Okay, Mandy.
So this is kind of on the dental topic, but expanding it a little bit. Something I have been told recently is the reimbursement process for, you know, traveling for those dental services are an issue. So I'm going through that right now because of this, you know, having the one provider in Eugene. So if this isn't resolved, or, you know, the company has pushback or whatever, I would like for us to, in the future, look at that also, because, you know, they can give us more providers, but if they're still not closer to Central Oregon and we have that barrier of not being able to be reimbursed, then we're not really solving the entire problem. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and that's a great thought, Mandy, because there may be pieces that are like more like we can push for process improvement within the in the reimbursement relationship. So that may have a little bit more movement ability than the big, let's, you know, recruit and hire new professionals. So I think that's a great thought.
All right, thanks, Mandy. Buffy.
Brad, Kristen, would Flex cover travel if there's a gap that exists? Like if nobody's willing to address that gap, is that something that you would be able to use Flex funds for?
Let me ask our team lead, Kara, about that. But that's a really good idea. I've seen some interesting projects too, like health project related projects from other regions, like CBI money that you guys are delegating right now with some creative transportation solutions. I don't know that anybody has applied for a grant like that, but around like non-covered ride services. So perhaps like a ride to like the grocery store, or just a ride to go pick up a prescription. If that's separate from an appointment, the non-emergency medical transportation won't make just a trip to the pharmacy, for example. But yeah, let me ask about the Flex funds, Buffy. That's a really great suggestion. And then Mandy, I can let you know what Kara says and like follow up with the CAC too about like reimbursing for these kind of one-off rides that Motive Care isn't covering. And I think probably some more questions why Motive Care is not covering those rides.
Thank you.
So Mandy, maybe we can connect again.
Okay, sounds good. I haven't been able to connect with customer service yet to even do what you suggested. So as soon as I get through that point, I'll let you know what happens.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. But I will check on the Flex funds in the meantime as well.
All right, good stuff. I'm gonna move us along to approving our notes, our meeting notes from the June meeting. Hopefully everybody got a chance to read through those, and it is a summary of what happened, but the idea is that the summary be an accurate reflection of the discussion. So first, are there any issues with the notes from the June meeting? Anything in there that somebody feels needs to be changed or added? And if not, I think we're going to practice our 5-finger voting. We haven't done that in a long time. So it doesn't sound like there's any issues or changes requested. So how about either hold up your hand, 5 fingers is you absolutely think they're great, they do the trick. Anything less than that, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. All right, I think we're good. June notes look good. Thanks, everybody. Now we're going to move into our breakout sessions, small group breakout sessions to connect with each other before we get into the business.
Yeah, before we do that though, we had Dustin Zimmerman join us. Dustin, would you like to introduce yourself to the group? It's your first meeting with us.
Absolutely, thank you. And I'm so sorry I was late. I had some internet issues, but hi, I'm Dustin Zimmerman. I am with OHA. I am the innovator agent that's working with Pacific Source. I had previously been working with Pacific Source before we had a little side project known as COVID-19. So worked with the COVID Response and Recovery Unit for the last 2.5 years. So I am back as the innovator agent for your region and Willamette Valley and the Columbia Gorge. Replacing Rebecca. So just wanted to say hello. Thanks for having me, and it's great to see everyone. So.
Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our breakout rooms. We have a fun question for today for everybody to discuss. Do you have a favorite book? What makes it your favorite book? Could also be, do you have a favorite author? Do you have a favorite genre? Just something to get to know everybody a little bit better. So I will send you to your breakout rooms. We're running a little bit behind today, so maybe about 5-7 minutes or so. And then we'll see you back here.
All right, well, that was fun. Hopefully it was fun for everybody. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We're a little bit behind still, but I think we're going to be just fine. But Michaela with Community Health Projects discussion.
Thank you. All right. Community Health Projects update. There's a lot to update you all on. But first I wanted to kind of remind everyone about the Community Health Projects timeline. So back in June, the pre-applications, y'all finalized the pre-applications and they were released the 21st of June. And so the deadline for community partners to submit their pre-applications is coming up. It's coming up on August 23rd, which I believe is next Tuesday. And how we had planned is that we would send everyone, all the CAC members, the pre-application, as well as that scorecard that you all approved. And then we would ask for the scores back on those pre-applications about 2 weeks later on September 12th. And you as a CAC would make your decisions on which pre-applications to invite to fill out the full applications for funding at your September 15th meeting. Questions on that?
Michaela, do we have a sense of how many applications in total will be submitted?
Yes, I'll get to that in just a little bit. A couple more slides down. But any questions on the timeline? Okay. All right, and since we last met, we received more funding. So we received an additional about 1.6 million to add to your pool of funds. And this additional funds come from providers meeting certain quality improvement measures, and a certain percentage of those funds coming back from the state for them meeting those measures has to go towards social determinants of health. And so they're added to your pool of funds. So which brings up the Community Health Projects pool of funds to about 1.9 million. So it's fantastic for the community, and it also increases your pool. Kelly sent out an announcement to the community to drum up some more interest, and it drummed up quite a bit of interest, and we have about 55 pre-applications. And so currently there are 23 submitted pre-applications with a request of about 1.2 million, with many more still in draft form. So we have an additional 32 in draft form, which could be between an additional 1.4 million to 2.1 million. So we're looking at over 50 pre-applications, and we'll need the CAC will need to make some decisions on which applications are pre-applications to advance, and which pre-applications to let go of.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't remember if this was asked last year, but another group that I'm working with, that I'm doing grant applications with, we got more than we have money to distribute to everyone. So instead of just immediately saying this one's too much, we're not going to look at it, is it possible to go back to the folks that we want to push forward, if there's not enough money, to ask them to maybe alter their ask so that it's possible to fund more of them at a lesser amount? Is that something that we've done or that's come up in the past?
That hasn't come up in the past for community health projects.
Just curious, that's what we're doing in that group. So if that was an option, that might be something to look at.
Can I ask Mindy, just for a clarification, were you saying if somebody applies for more than 80,000?
No, so, and I don't know, I can't think of the numbers for the other group that I'm involved with, but there was a total of like 8 applicants, and there is, I think, it's a small amount, so it's only like 6,500 over what we have. And so they're going back and having those organizations that put in a request see if it's possible for them to lower their ask from us and potentially get money from somewhere else to cover that other spot, just so that we can cover everyone. But we let them decide, instead of saying you're not going to be funded, how about you guys talk to each other or just review your request and lower it if you think there's a possibility that you can get the funding from elsewhere. So it's something I haven't seen. So I thought it was a cool idea if it's possible in this context as well.
Yeah, you've have partially funded some applications.
Yeah. So we have given a grantee less than what they asked for because we had limited funds, right, Michaela? That's what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's kind of creative, this new approach you're asking about. The community is involved in saying, well, I think I can cut back here. I think that's very creative. So I'm Elizabeth, so, okay.
I guess I want to get your kind of gut reactions to this information, and then we can kind of brainstorm of how you want to proceed on reviewing these applications next. What are some of your kind of reactions to this?
It's awesome. It's a lot of applications and a lot of money. It looks like so far the average of the 23 submitted is about 52,000. The draft, I'm assuming we're unsure of, but seems like the majority of people are asking that upper bound of what we've provided them. Is that about right?
The range.
Mhm. What are some more reactions? Concern?
Hey, Michaela, how does the number compare to last round? Isn't that quite a few more applications than we had last round?
Yeah, so last round, I want to say it was about a little over 30. So last year we split you into 2 review groups, and each review group reviewed about 15, 16.
Michaela, are they, I know the underlying basis for the applications is social determinants of health. Do they seem to be clustered around certain topics that might help us in reviewing similar grants together? Like, are there a bunch around food insecurity or a bunch around transportation, or are they kind of scattered all over?
I think it's a pretty wide spread. Holly, do you have any more insight into that? And we've been looking through and putting them into spreadsheets.
Yeah, it's pretty widespread. I haven't really grouped them together yet, but that's something that I could do that might be helpful.
So Stacey's excited and hopeful. With this mini applications, one concern that I have is around bandwidth for everyone to review. 55 pre-applications in about 2 weeks and provide scores and all that. So we came up with some options to, if this group was open to modifying the review process. I know when we had our sub CAC group earlier this week, we had about 50 applications, and that group felt pretty strongly towards being able to review and score 25 pre-applications, so splitting them up into 2 review groups. But I also wanted to get everyone else's thoughts as well. And these are just brainstorming options for you to consider, or to do a mixture or create your own. So first option, keep the review process as is. To split the CAC into 2 review groups, so about 6 people each, and then split the application, so you'd have about 25 plus pre-applications to review and provide scores for. Another option, we'd do the same thing, only with the applications. We could kind of trim down some of the content in the application to make it kind of each load. Like, we would take away some questions like, the applicant contact information, or whether or not they served OHP, which is a qualifier. So we kind of already pre-screen those questions. And what would be left would be questions around project overview, tribal questions, the health equity questions, social determinants of health, and the budget. Another option, some health council staff could help with the scoring and reviewing of the pre-applications, and then we could bring you the results and how they kind of stacked up in like a nice spreadsheet that outlines like a quick summary. You'd have access to the full application, the scores, and kind of any major component to those applications. And then finally, we could bring you a spreadsheet with the brief summary of the project and other fields of interest for you to kind of scan through, read. You'll have access to the full application for you to kind of base your decision off of.
And Michaela, I just want to throw out there, I agree with you as far as I'm definitely concerned about capacity. It's a lot of applications, even when it's split into two groups. So I mean, I'd throw out one other option is 3 groups. Divide us into 3 and have us do a smaller number. It's like 15 or so. Be 15 to 20. Just one other idea. Having the staff go through them all to just make sure they meet all the actual requirements and discarding any that don't, and letting those people know why and so forth. I think you do that anyways, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll go and make sure that all of the applications or all the funding requests align.
What do people think about options 3 and 4? I think like breaking us down into smaller groups so that we review fewer applications. Personally, I think we kind of have to do that. I can't manage 25 applications in 2 weeks. That's just a lot of work, and I worry about others. What do people think about that? And then the item 3 and 4, suggestions 3 and 4.
I think this is Linda. I'm respectful and want to be respectful about the large number of pre-apps and the limitations we all have on time and energy. And then I look at the total amount of money that we're making choices around. And even though they might, number 4, for example, would concern me if we just were to make decisions based on a spreadsheet with this magnitude of funding. So for me, it's like, what's the right level of detail for us to be able to say that we really did a complete review of the application, but to do it in a way that's not overly burdensome. So breaking down into 2 groups or 3 groups and clustering a review group around, if there is clustering around, let's say food insecurity, then making sure that the review group reviews all of the apps around food insecurity so you can sort of get a sense of comparison around the similar topic. So 2 groups, 3 groups, and then for people that really want to delve into the applications and they haven't approved or they're not on the list to approve, have the ability to access those and read them in your spare time. Either that or maybe a 2-stage process. If we, for example, divide it into 2 groups, and I'm just brainstorming, have one group review their 25 or whatever the appropriate number is, which would be option number 2, and then prioritize based on the scores they give, share that information with the other group. So if people want to review maybe the top 5 or the whole list, they have the option to do that before we make a final decision.
Well, the number is getting so big that if we did a spreadsheet, it'd be like a cheat sheet. It kind of like focused me so that I could go in then and say, oh, I'm going to read this. I understand what this is about. Yes, they made enough context. They listed Warm Springs and they listed, they had several contexts. They weren't just listing one community they're giving services to. I mean, it would focus me in if I could quickly look at a spreadsheet and then I could just spend some time reading specifically into it, because it's just getting too big, I think, so I don't know.
Buffy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to be the memory for the CAC from the last time when you guys were in the discussion part. When you guys split them into 2 different spaces, some of the feedback that I want to, I guess, voice for those individuals, they felt like it seemed like they felt this level of disconnect on some of the projects that were getting reviewed that they had no knowledge of. And so I'm not trying to add more more burdensome things to this mix, but I just wanted to remind you guys that I think sometimes when you guys as a team don't have the full information all at the same time, that can be, that it seemed like it was really disconnecting for some individuals. And I feel like they were vocalizing it in a way where not so much that they disagreed with what was happening, but that I think that it just set different with them. And so when I see this process of being maybe more efficiently in some of these, but in some way even more disconnected. And I worry about the CAC as individuals, because the decisions they're making are important to them. And so I don't have a solution. I just kind of wanted to be your guys's memory.
Buffy.
I want to piggyback on what Buffy said, because I'm in 3 grant review processes right now with 3 different groups. And one of them, we just had this conversation about not everybody being able to review every application, which, 55, assuming they all went through, is a lot. But I think that spreadsheet could be really valuable. That's what we're doing in that other group. Some people volunteered to look at all of them, but I think a spreadsheet with at least all of those main points that we're trying to cover would be really helpful. And then having so for one of the groups, we're prioritizing communities and populations that haven't been served yet, or are historically ignored. And so if we could have, a column like that, or I think that's something that's really important to look at. Like if there was somebody that got a grant last year and they're back to expand or do something else, being able to look and see which communities have not, which cities and which populations have not yet been served, would be helpful for me, not being able to see all of the applications.
So, Mandy, just to clarify, would you want to see both, like organizations that haven't applied in the past, and to see kind of which communities they're serving?
Yeah. So I wish I could share the spreadsheet that we're using in the other group, but I can't right now. But yeah, they have a column for culturally specific organizations. They have a column for, the other one is statewide. And so it shows which counties have not been served yet by this particular grant process. So maybe here it would be the cities or whatever, and then types of populations. So examples from that other group are, there are organizations that are just serving the Black community, or just serving youth, or just serving students. So there's those different options, whereas some of them are general population. And so this is in houselessness specific, this other group. So that's helpful. But yeah, it's helped us, get our priorities straight, because there's a lot of people that came back from last year. And so we put those folks aside until, the first round goes through. And then if we have more funding, then we'll go back to those ones that have already been funded. But we try to prioritize the groups that have not been funded or are specifically serving a population that hasn't been funded.
Yeah, we can
answer your question.
We can build a spreadsheet to be able to quickly look at that, or sort or filter based on something similar to that, based on the questions that are in this current pre-application. So what I'm hearing is possibly breaking up into 3 groups. That would mean there'd be like 4 CAC members per review group. And maybe seeing if you all could commit to reviewing, 55 divided by 3, however many applications that is. But give you access to a spreadsheet with all of the applications with links and stuff. So you can see every application that was submitted with a quick summary. And then also on the spreadsheet, those categories that Mandy mentioned and having you all score them. Is that what I heard?
That aligns with what I heard.
That aligns with what I heard as well. And I don't remember if you mentioned this or not, Michaela, still granting us access to all of the applications beyond the ones that were assigned so that we can have a chance to take a look at all of them before we take a vote.
Okay, so having a third of them assigned to your review group, but then asking if you get through those, the third of the pre-applications, if you could start scoring other applications so we have more. And I've heard that in the subgroup. Okay.
Do we want to do a 5-finger vote on this? How are people feeling?
Kristen says she'll help us with summaries because I know she's been helping us write those. So
yeah, and we have a great grant platform that we may be able to pull a lot of that information off of and then pare down. So we're not on this end, and Kristen, your end, we don't have to build from scratch. So.
Oh yes, I'm familiar with the copy and paste function with the grant management. Yeah, it's very helpful, but I'm happy to provide a 2 to 3 sentence summary of the projects, and then however you guys think it makes sense, if the summaries are built into the spreadsheet or if that's a separate document, whatever you guys think makes sense. But I'm happy to do those again, because I also remember, kind of like Buffy was saying last year, that sort of that initial discussion, there was people that were really knowledgeable about half of the grants and other people that were really knowledgeable about half the grants, and then bringing that information together, I think could be challenging at times. So hopefully the summaries would be helpful. And it's also confusing if, like I seem to recall last year, Oregon State applied for maybe more than one grant. So then, or maybe Ben Lapine. So trying to keep the 2 different grants straight was also, could be confusing.
And this is just a new thought to add to it. After we've done our ratings, I know there's a section on the application form for comments. If we could make the comments anonymous, but available to each other so that we know the content of the comments, but not the attribution, because that helps us to share concerns or perspectives that other people had on grants that maybe we haven't read yet.
Yes, we will. In my head, I'm like, how are we going to do this? So we'll try to figure out a way to do that.
Be prepared. You all will be receiving a 40-foot by 40-foot poster to hang on the trees or the side of your house to use for reviewing. I'm kidding.
The spreadsheet, yeah.
That'll be great. No, that'll be awesome. It can be layered and timely. It doesn't have to come out all at once. We'll get it. Oh, we got it. We got it. You guys have amazing creative thinking. So,
and let us know how we can support you with paper copies, however, whatever you need.
Is everybody feeling good about this? Is there anybody who has a comment that's not feeling good about this? And please, if you don't feel good about it, you need to speak up. Please speak up.
I have a question, Brad. Do you think it would help the CAC, or I'll just ask the CAC, do you think it would help you guys if there was a designated time and space, like a physical space, where you guys could go to do some of it so that it's separate from what you're normally doing? I know sometimes in my tribal work, if I have to go physically somewhere and do something, that sometimes my mind follows that and I kind of drop away from all of the other stuff that may be pulling at me, whether it's my kids or the, you know, the clock or my smell of my food or whatever. I don't know if that would be something that you guys might be interested in, and maybe we could look at doing something like that, like creating you guys just like a, oh, you could go to this space to do it.
Responses?
I like that idea. I kind of do that anyways with just work life and school life and children. I mean, personally, I have to disconnect and like run away to be able to focus on certain tasks. I personally like to take like baths and like review things. So I have my, but I think that would be really, that's a good idea.
I think that would be funny, Stacy, to see everybody all in the bath. It's at a hot tub party.
Well, I suppose we could offer that opportunity, and those who, you know, want to do it and can do it on the date and time, or maybe a couple dates and times, I don't know, can do it, and those who don't or can't, won't.
I will add Redmond. Most of the COCC campuses are public, and there are like private little rooms that you can go into. You don't have to reserve them or anything, but that's one of my favorite spots. You can temperature control and stuff like that, like on Redmond campus in Artec. Little cubicle.
So Michaela, do you have what you need?
I do.
Okay.
We divide into 3 groups. It should be just over 18 applications each. You get 55. All right. Yep. So we'll follow up with that. Thank you all for your input and wisdom and brainstorming and coming up with a solution. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is challenging. We're not a foundation, and yet we're kind of functioning like one. Part of the year at least. Well, we are clearly over time, but that's okay. But I do want to ask the group how you'd like to manage the rest of our time. We can either, one option is just to extend our time to 1:45 or 2 o'clock. That would allow us to cover perhaps cover our full agenda, giving Buffy and Gwen the time they need. The other is to negotiate, maybe not cover our last item, give Buffy her full time, which would which would have us be together 10 extra minutes. How people feel. So either stay together 10 extra minutes, give Buffy her full time and not cover our CAC board combined meeting topic, or stay together until 1:45, possibly as late as 2 o'clock and cover both items.
I have a hard stop at 2. Anything less than that, I'm up for.
Okay.
And Brad, Buffy's presentation is a little different than what was on the agenda. She's going to be sharing with us about the Warm Springs shelters and the call center. So we have some pictures to share. So that should be a little bit shorter than the original agenda.
I actually have a hard stop too, because I got to get a kid to an appointment. But I can go until like 10:45 10 till, so.
Okay.
And somebody can take over as well. That's all good.
Any other comments? I'm going to assume, and sorry, but if you don't speak up, that you're okay with extending our time a little bit, maybe to 1:45, possibly to 2 o'clock. We'll shoot for 1:45, but okay, let's do it. Buffy, you are up.
Thanks. Okay, so the last time we were together, I had asked if you guys kind of wanted to see some photos from some of the contributions and support that you had given Warm Springs. And so I was meeting with Caroline, and she had said to go ahead and we could share some photos. So kind of what you're seeing here is obviously the shelter units themselves. Directly behind is the laundry room, the shower room, and the restroom. And then to the right, kind of behind the tree, is where they have the main kind of staffing unit / offices. And then we put in some raised garden beds that are kind of behind this tree. Is there another shot of the shelter, Kelly? Yeah, there's that one. There's all of the units. They're fully all functional, air conditioned. They both have 2 spaces in them. They could hold 4, but they only chose to put 2 in there unless it's a family unit. Is there one more? And this is, we put this in I think like right at the end of May, this covered area, the dining area, because originally the picnic tables were just kind of all exposed, and that's when we started getting a lot of heat. So we did that and put them into concrete, and they actually really like that space, which really surprised us. They really, I mean, I don't know why it surprised us. I mean, I've been working with these individuals for, I don't know, going on 6 years, and they crack me up all the time because I'm like, what, out of everything that we've ever done, this is what you guys really like, and they take really good care of it. And so you know that they really like it. I tease them all the time because I told them that it makes them feel exotic because of the curtaining and as it flows and flaps in the wind. So I raise Cain with a lot of them. Some of our older homeless individuals that are veterans, they get quite of a chuckle out of it. But yeah, so now they have a pretty solid covered eating area. Excuse me. And so there's that. So and there's the raised garden beds. The idea right now, we're working on a project to where they're actually caring for their own food. And we're working on a bridge to education that'll come from them being able to grow their own garden. And then we'll show them how to process things with it. So whether that's making their own salsa or canning their own, in this case, corn, or, whatever that looks like, jams and stuff like that. So it gives them something to do, and they seem to be really liking it. Okay. And then this is, if you remember the Youth Line application that you supported last year. So part of your contributions for this created this Youth Line call center. And so this, if you remember that this project will actually teach Native youth how to do peer support through crisis intervention. I don't know if you remember or not, but this is the only one in the nation that are attempting to not only be targeted specifically for Native youth, but also peer-to-peer. And so we're really super excited about this. We're getting ready to do an open house in September, towards the end of September, and there'll be 2 open houses. There'll be one that's more for the community, where it'll be, because of the content being crisis and because of it being with our youth, there'll be more blessings and prayer and ceremony. And then there's also going to be where we encompass the larger population. And I think, what is his name? I always forget. I am so not political. Is it Senator Wyden? Is that his name? Okay, so he was really supportive, I think, nationally. So this whole Youth Line is all tied into like this national bigger conversation. And so the American Indian Alaska Native conversation piece of it is tied somehow to some legislation. And you guys, I am not political. They always have to remind me who these different people are that come. Like we had, oh, we just spent like 2.5 days with her. Is it still Governor Brown?
Mhm.
Okay, so she, so she, you guys are laughing at me, but I'm really not political. So she was just spent a bunch of time with us as well, discussing the same type of topics about the American Indian, Alaska Native. Warm Springs is really kind of piloting and trailblazing this project. And so it's really important for me to share with you guys that you guys really did, your contribution really did make a difference. And so moving forward, it'll be really nice to be able to see how that kind of plays out for everybody. So do you guys have any questions about either one of those projects? Is the speakers off? I mean, are you guys knock
Okay,
knock?
I'll jump
Hello?
in. I'll jump in. Are both projects active, or is the youth
Yep.
line kind of just getting up and going, or where are things
Yeah,
at?
the youth line, it just got completed, and so now it'll start this year. And
Okay.
because youth need to be recruited, the recruitment effort and plan for that isn't in place yet. So that they just we were laughing because so they said, hey, everybody come to this meeting. So we came to this meeting, and then afterwards they said, okay, now you guys are the committee. And I said, the committee for what? They said, the committee for youth line. And so the committee just had its first quote unquote informal meeting, but we're actually supposed to be putting together kind of a recruitment plan and kind of a larger, probably strategic plan with that Health and Human Services could kind of merge into their prevention programs.
Great. And I'm sorry, and who will train the youth?
The youth line of, I think it's of Bend, isn't it? Isn't that their main company? Hang on, I just got an email.
So they're like mental health counselors, or
Yeah, they're all I don't know, is everybody not familiar with Ben's call center for crisis intervention? Let me get the right name. Let me start there first. That way it'll help. Okay, so they are, it just says they are the youth line organization, and they're based out of Bend. And currently they do crisis support 24/7 for adults. And then they also have a teen program in Bend that's pretty active. And for the last 3.5 years, her name is Melanie. She kind of started visiting Warm Springs, and the conversation kind of began over time to see if a project could be developed because of cultural differences, because when tribal youth are in crisis, if you are not educated within just their cultural components, that could look really different in how you respond to those needs. And so the conversation really was, how do we not only be tribal specific or American Indian, Alaska Native specific, but how do we teach youth how to do that work for those who are interested? And then how do we connect this to the national level of Indian country? And so part of that work, we're working with Northwest Portland Area Indian Health Board, part of it. So there's like, so it's like multi-layered, and Warm Springs is pretty much just kind of starting it. And I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how quick or how slow, but I do know that everything that has happened up till now has been, you know, 3.5 years in the making.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really happy for them. Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
absolutely.
So this isn't connected to the peer support specialist training, right? It's
I don't know
or
what, I don't know what that is. You would have to tell, you would have,
oh, okay.
I can only tell you, I can only share with you what I know. I can tell you that the Youth Line organization out of Bend is doing some of the training for this, but they're also working with the 43 tribes of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, which is all based in what has already exists as their methodology and approach when discussing suicide prevention, that type of stuff.
Okay, I'll put a link in the chat just in case it is helpful at all. I don't know. There's like a OHA training that the college is providing. I don't know if that's helpful to any, like if there was anybody else in the organization, like you said, you just had the informal meeting where everybody's like, oh, we're on the board now, or the council, if it would be helpful at all.
Thank you.
Like for other, like people who are youth actually in there, but maybe the ones who are supporting them, if that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other
And-
questions or comments? Oh, go ahead, Buffy.
Oh, I was just going to say, and as far as our other conversation, which will be discussing more about just how I can help you guys understand even just the world that I exist in a majority of the time and how it's all connected. That conversation was set to begin today, but I'm learning that I'm always learning about system stuff. And apparently I need to do a few things in order to share my my thoughts with you guys. And so I'm trying to get those taken care of. But hopefully by maybe the next month or two, we'll be able to begin this conversation so that I can understand like where your guys's current level of knowledge and information is at, specifically to the 3 tribal nations that are within our region, and maybe just more of what you want to better understand, whether it's tribal government, whether it's terms and language, whether it's even just something like, you know, some part of their health system, like how is the Klamath tribe addressing, you know, their social determinants of health. Buffy, can you help us understand that? Absolutely. So, I mean, it's things like that that I could help maybe bring to the table, but that'll probably be the next month or two.
We look forward to it whenever it does happen. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments for Buffy? Okay, well, thank you, Buffy, for sharing those projects with us, the outcomes, and it's all great work. With that, we will shift to Gwen to talk about the CAC board, Community Advisory Council board combined meeting topics, since we have a board combined meeting coming up in September.
Yes,
Go ahead,
October.
Yeah.
Okay. Typically it's been in September, but we recognized this year we wanted to do a little bit different planning, and with our ED transitioning in, and we've been doing things differently as a CAC board in the last year. So we're looking at October as the planned yearly meeting that CAC and the board always meet. And we know in the last year we've done it a few more times. But what we're hoping for with this conversation is to identify some ideas and topics for the shared work that you all might want to do with the board at the fall meeting. And so I'd like to take some time to review CAC and board activities to help build better partnership. And we know that if we don't have this conversation, then we risk a combined meeting that doesn't meet your needs and doesn't move forward what you all want to move forward in your relationship with the board. So we'll go through a series of questions, and they kind of start with like, what do we remember over the last year? And Kelly, I'll have you pull up the survey that we took last year here shortly. So, and just to catch everybody up to speed and refresh, this is just take yourself off mute and share. You can put something in the chat. But just a quick review. Anybody remember, like, why did we start the conversation about the board and the CAC relationship? So now I invite folks to speak up. Kelly, you can, yeah, thanks. In just a minute, we'll pull that up. It's in the packet. It's free reign if y'all want it. But so why did we start the conversation? What was the trigger?
As I recall, we started the conversation because CAC didn't feel engaged with the board, and the board didn't know how to, we didn't know how to engage with them, and the board didn't know how to engage with CAC. And that we were hopeful that through some development of personal relationships and frequency of meetings, that relationship could be strengthened and maybe become clearer in how and whether, or actually how we want to work together.
All right, thanks, Linda. Others want to add to that or add some different, different perspective to that?
As I recall, it's because we were wondering why we weren't getting covered on X, Y, and Z. And we didn't understand why that wasn't happening. And then we looked at a perspective, not knowing their perspective, but realized we needed to know what their perspective was and what problems and obstacles they had that they couldn't transcend, and why that might answer why we aren't getting what we need as OHP members, not as a committee.
Thanks, Teresa. Other memories?
I would just add that we just felt like two very different, separate energies, entities, groups of people that really weren't working together. And we were, we're the advisory council. We're supposed to be advisory to the board of the health council, and it didn't really seem like that was what we were doing. So it's kind of like, let's just take a look at this. How can we work together better to be more impactful for our region? So.
Thanks, Brad. So what's happened in the past year to respond to those concerns? Kelly, you can go ahead and put that up now. Might help trigger memories. So what's happened after that initial conversation? What anybody remember what's changed or what we've done differently, what you've done differently?
I think from both sides, there was learning around CAC members presenting their own patient stories. I think that's one of the things that led to the creation of the oral health group. I think it's been powerful and impactful when we've done that. And I think that it's caused us also to reflect on how do we connect the personal stories to the collective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's been learning on both sides.
Absolutely. Yeah. So things that have happened in the past year to respond to the need of CAC and the board connecting better. what's happened. One of the things that I remember is that we've had historically had a combined meeting once a year, and you all decided to meet more regularly. So we've actually met at least 2, if not other than 3 times. I think this will be October will be the 3rd time this year because of that conversation and that work. Anything else come to mind for you all? Or am I losing you because it's 1:30? If we need to table this, we could table this.
When it might just be that what we're looking at is what happened. Almost
Yes.
everything happened on this list. So
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we can.
It's like
Yeah.
right there.
So when you look, so what have you been pleased by? And when you think about continuing the relationship, what excites you? So what's been exciting, from this evolution in the past? And when you think forward, what kind of excites you, possibilities excite you? Nope, you're muted, Linda. I see you talking, but you're muted.
The reason that I'm quiet is that I'm not an OHP member, and I think ultimately the goal was to increase the relationship between Health Council and OHP members. And I have questions about, was that effective? Do OHP members feel that they can approach members of the board now as a result of what we've done in the last year? And I can't answer that, but I want to learn from it.
That's a great question. Would our consumer reps like to share your experiences?
There's a lot of silence. I'll jump in.
We can try this angle. I've got another. All right. When we look at what we've done with our meetings with the board and the patient stories and some of the learnings we've shared, what has gone well and what do you maybe want more of? Or what do you want less of? Like,
I still feel like it's not really up here, but I still feel like our Community Advisory Council needs to focus more energy on getting more consumer feedback, input, engagement, so that there's more voices and not just those of us that are on the council.
Yeah.
And then that voice would, we'd be able to share that voice more frequently and with more impact with the board, with each other and with the board.
So I'm hearing sharing the patient experience, the client experience has been good, and you want more. And
yeah.
More robust, more frequency, more stories, more people. Yeah. Teresa, Stacy, Mandy, Connor, y'all have been around for the last few months. What comes to mind for you? No right or wrong. It's just a weighing in.
I honestly haven't really attended any meetings, and I'm going to be full transparency because honestly, I don't believe from the top down anything that comes out of their mouth is anything but bullshit. I really don't. After all these years, and I'm frustrated, and I'm ready to really give up. I just feel like denied. I just feel like it's just there's a lot going into the top up, but it's not really helping the OHP members. And I've gotten to the point where I don't really trust them. So I don't go because it makes me angry.
Mhm. Got it. Yeah. So hearing that where things are happening, trying to stir it up, but it's not reaching the client, and you're not seeing the responsiveness and broken trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a synopsis. Thank you.
Yeah. You said it well. You said it well. I want you to be heard. I want you to feel heard. So at least.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Teresa, when you say you don't trust them, are you speaking about OHA, Pacific Source, the Health Council, everybody? Can you help me understand that, who it is you're speaking of?
All of the above,
Okay.
because it's like decisions come down of denial of care, for instance, which is silly because it's denied because it's a condition, or it's not considered a condition. Well, a doctor thinks it's a condition, so that's silly. I just am frustrated. And as you know, I filed it's been a while since I filed grievances for periodontal care and dental care, blah, blah, blah. And out of that, I got an advocate, but I have a really hard time even getting hold of her. And it's been like that over and over and over. And it's like, I honestly, and I could be 100% wrong, but I feel like I get, and I'm going to apologize if I offend anyone in advance, but I feel like I'm treated like shit because I'm on OHP. By a lot of people. So anyway. So, and I may be 100% wrong, but that's how I feel. So it's hard for me to transcend that and be helpful to any organization. So.
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate your candor and your honesty and your willingness to express what's true.
Well, only in my mind.
Yeah, thanks, Teresa. And I just want to make it clear that it is frustrating how long things take, how long change takes sometimes. But, together we built this emerging issues kind of process and tools, and we've been putting it into action. And it's I feel like it's making a difference, but of course, it takes a while to translate to a difference for OHP members. That's always frustrating. It's a lot like politics, right? Politics is frustrating because things take so long and then people change. And this isn't really politics, but there's some of that in there. But it's a system, a health system with a bunch of players. And it's difficult. But I think the advocacy, I remember, Teresa, you actually saying that you were ready to leave the CAC and you stayed on because we were actually doing something. And I noticed from pretty much all the members that the advocacy feels valuable. When we can advocate for consumers, that's what feels valuable. So I think that's where we should focus our energy. And keep working on, keep increasing OHP consumer engagement with us, finding ways to do that better. And that's where the issues come from. And then working, as a group, working these, any issues that do come up through our process. And as we go, we're going to learn to be better, stronger advocates as we go. And then we're going to engage the board to also be advocates. And I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, there are the dental care organization, I guess one, right? There's one leader of Advantage Dental on the board. But getting the whole board, which represents primarily our health provider um, in our region, getting them to advocate as well, to take our advice, to act on our advice. And that's where I've seen the most excitement among you, our CAC members. So I think we need to, react to that and do more of it and get better at it. And particularly the engagement piece. Because I think we've developed a tool, we've developed a process. I think it's working. Of course, follow-up is always challenging, right? That's the part that we got to always stay on it, and not let it go and just think they're going to take care of things because we said we want it or we need it. We have to stay on them. We got to keep making noise. Whether that's sending letters or having another meeting with them, saying, "Hey, what'd you do? We met in April. What's changed?" So we just have to keep doing that. So I hope you stay with us, everyone, including Teresa, Linda.
I completely agree with you, Brad. And I'm wondering, we are sort of at the end of our time together, and I don't want this to drop. And we have already lost a couple of participants here and leaving the meeting. I'm wondering, Gwen and the team, if we could send out your questions electronically so people can have time to think about it and get it back to us. And then we could revisit it at the next meeting and talk about, based on the feedback we've heard from Teresa and others, everyone else in writing, what is it that CAC would like to, what's the next step for us? What is it that we really feel that we need? And then I'd also appreciate that we have that same conversation with the board, the Health Council, because I think it comes from both.
Yeah.
So I don't, Brad, how do you think, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so you, just to see if I understood, you're suggesting that CAC members share any ideas they have regarding CAC board relationships and our work together in writing?
Yes, the questions that Gwen has, maybe she sends it out in terms of a questionnaire that people can respond in writing rather than at the moment when they're trying to rush out the door.
Yeah,
we'll do that and continue it. And I think that's a great idea to involve the board with similar questions and help form that up.
And if you'd rather have a phone call, feel free to call me, call Michaela, call Gwen.
Absolutely.
Call somebody.
Maxine. Coffee. Yeah. Happy to chat and answer the questions interpersonally. Imagine that. Yeah.
All right. Well, our time is up, and thanks to everyone for staying over a bit.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.